We're talking female friendship matters today because female friendship matters. And we have a foremost expert on the topic as our guest. Danielle Bayard Jackson is here right now on Maggie and the Moms. It's time for Maggie and the Moms. Sponsored by Tampa General Hospital. Moms, do you have female friendships and do you make them a priority? And why does that matter so much anyway? The woman with the answers to that question and more is our guest today. I am so honored and thrilled to welcome my friend. She is so cool. Danielle Bayard Jackson. Deanna, am I right? How cool is this woman?
Cool, so knowledgeable, so just
she's all the things.
Forward thinking.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
We
What
love
an
you.
intro.
You're welcome.
And I want you to know that I was, doing my research as I do for this this podcast. And when you Google, this is a fun fact, Deanna, when you Google female friendship, guess who pops up in 99% of the posts that come up?
Is it Danielle Bayard Jackson?
It is Danielle Bayard Jackson. So we are so honored.
That's SEO.
I was
Right?
just going to say, shout out to SEO. That's right.
I mean, she lives here in our backyard, and we get to have her here. So, yeah. All right. So, we can't talk about you the whole time, although I could.
Oh, bummer.
Let's talk about female friendship, which the reason that you come up in all the searches is because this is really your passion, your life's work. You have researched everything there is to research about it. And what have you found to be the answer to that question about why female friendships matter?
You know, there's actually so much research that points to different reasons that it matters. And we know friendship in general matters across the board universally. But there's something about being friendships with other women specifically. We've seen everything from the way that it cuts your risk of heart disease by 30%. And heart disease is the #1 cause of death for American women. So that's huge. We also see that women who have female-dominated social circles are more likely to advance in their careers and make more money. We see that women who turn to other women in the face of distress, their cortisol, which is their stress hormone, drops. So there's just so many things that are benefits of being friends with other women. So that's something we can't take for granted.
And it being friends with the right other
yeah.
women,
There you
because
go.
if it's going to be
that's a
good for
difference.
you, it can't be a toxic female friendship. And unfortunately, that exists as well. So we'll talk about that. But what I want to talk about first is why, if it's so good for us, we don't make time for it. So many of us always have the excuse of, I'm too busy, or actually feel excited when plans get canceled. Why?
That's good. Oh, you're asking me? I was like, I know, same.
Why?
Yeah, no.
Why we like that?
You know what? Okay, so I think it's like this amalgamation of lots of things. I've been thinking about this. I think that one is we do have the onus on us to do a lot of things individually, especially in American society, right? So I watched this documentary on Netflix called Join or Die, and it's about the rapid decrease of our engagement in things like church and PTA and clubs. Well, those used to be the spaces where the kids were hanging out while you're doing Bible study, or you've got somebody down the street who can watch your kids while you're in the... So you take that away and you remove that social infrastructure. Now I've got to watch the kids by myself. And we see a dominance of things like, kids extracurriculars. They're saying is costing more money and taking more time. I got to do that by myself. And then, we're isolated at work, maybe working from home. I've got to do all these things by myself. So I feel like a lot of the onus of socializing is on us to get started, to find opportunities, to drive there. And
It's exhausting.
Yeah, and you compare that to other societies where it's baked in, where you can't escape.
Well, is it
socializing
strictly an
with other
American
people.
problem?
Well, we do see things like these areas called blue zones, and they have found that these places around the world where people are living to be 100, what's different about these places? And they found that it comes down to like 9 things. But one of the things is social interaction. They're talking and mixing and mingling all the time. It's just baked into how they do life.
I feel that when I visit other
Do you?
countries. I feel that. Like when we were on
you can see
vacation
it.
in Europe, the kids, it's what it used to be. Like in my childhood, the kids were outside playing. The parents were in the plaza having, and then the plaza was packed with people having dinners and conversations with friends. And I'm like, where did we go wrong? Where did we lose that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to blame social media for everything, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that's
I-
one that I
makes
can.
You can,
blame
but
it
I
on.
think that happened before 2004, which is when I think social media came on the beat. I think that people were sort of like just going into their own homes, shutting down. We became like gated communities and keep this person out. And I don't know. I feel like that might have happened before social media.
Interesting.
And
But
you know me, I'm
social-
not a social media stan.
But social media, I do feel like it emotionally exhausts me. Like I feel like that's a big contributor to why I'm exhausted all the time. I don't know. Do you guys feel that, or is that just me?
Well, they say that the most exhausted age is 47.
Okay.
So I feel,
Oh, I'm
I'm a little bit older
there.
than that.
you're like, okay, and I'm waiting for you to continue. You know, but there's this range of like where we are in the life cycle that can determine how tired we feel. And I think there's something that found that like people between 35 and 44 have the least amount of leisure time than any other group. So you're working with less time. And now you've got all these responsibilities. Maybe you're that sandwich generation where like you're caring for little kids and elderly parents. And it does feel like there's so much. I agree with you. I also had the thought too I read something, there's this book called Hope for Cynics, and it's talking about our increasing cynicism in America as well. But if we have a lack of trust in our neighbor and then I'm not letting you babysit my kid. I'm not
Yeah.
letting the kids play outside.
Yes.
So I think a lot of ingredients might be working together to make us feel so busy.
But
and
to make you feel
skeptical.
better, there was an article, I want to say it was Vox, but maybe I'm wrong about that was talking about the rise in neighborism. That we realize we are becoming too separate in our own lives. So people are like knocking on the door and be like,
The doorbell
"Hey."
friends.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I saw
I'm
that.
so and so.
Which used to be so common, right? In our childhood, you'd have the people who would pop in unannounced, and
Yep.
you didn't freak out. You welcomed it. You didn't go hide and pretend no one was home. You did the opposite.
Now, if you were to drop by, I feel like people would be like, "You're insane."
like, what's wrong?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, do you guys know your next door neighbors?
Yes, and I feel like I would be delighted if my next door neighbor Margaret popped by, and sometimes I would say she does. She has. She's older, so she
I
like
love
will
that.
bake something and bring it over.
Oh, that's
And yeah,
sweet.
and I love that. But do you guys feel like you have doorbell friends?
No.
I do. I wish it happened more often, but I would be totally comfortable with friends coming by. I think I'd be a little startled, like, wait, what's going on? But I would welcome that. I really would.
Yeah.
I have my son has friends who live in the neighborhood, or kids his age who live in the neighborhood, and my husband and I are always like, you should just go over there, like in the summer especially, just show up, be like, hey, you want to ride bike? And I'm like, wait, that's me when I was a kid. And he says, no, that's not a thing. You don't just do that. How can we get our kids to embrace that should be a thing again?
Lead by example. I think we should do it ourselves, and then they'll do it.
Okay.
You're not
Maybe
for
I'll
that,
try
Maggie.
No, maybe I'll try that. But anyway, I think that what you're saying is there are a lot of obstacles right now,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But it's so good for us that we should be intentional about creating these friendships. But so many of us say, I'm just too busy. I'd like to know your thoughts on that reason that people give and how we can make female friendships a priority. And we're going to do that right after this quick break. Friendship coach, author, educator Danielle Bayard Jackson is here today, and we were talking about why female friendship is literally good for your health, good for your soul, good for your heart, but so many of us don't make time for it, and we always have an excuse/reason, and one of the biggest ones is I'm just too busy. How do you buy that, number one? And how do we make time for something that matters so much?
You know, I do buy it because I know that is a very real feeling of being exhausted, burned out from work. Unfortunately, so many of us still having the domestic labor fall to us, not having a partner so I know that a lot of things work together to really make us feel like, hey, my genuine experience is that I am overwhelmed. However, I think there are ways that we can integrate friendship into our lives that does not feel like, here's another thing I've got to do. And two of the biggest strategies that I give that can be really helpful. The first is, I think a lot of us are still saying, I don't have time for friends, because when we conjure up an image of hanging out with friends, we're still imagining hours long brunches on Saturday, out all night on Friday.
Pinterest perfect hangouts.
100%. So if that's still what comes to mind when I think, do I have time to hang with friends this week? I'm always going to say I don't have time for that. And I think for many of us, we need to update the script of what that looks like. Maybe now hanging with friends looks like you're coming with me to Costco while you tell me about your date last night. That's how we're getting our time this week. You know, I got to take the kids to the park on Saturday morning. Bring your kids too. And we're yapping for an hour while they play. That's how we're getting our time in. And so I think we have to rethink what it looks like to hang out with friends. But I also recognize that can feel very vulnerable for certain women. And I think that says something. If you're thinking about friends who you could invite to come to the house or come with me to the park, come shopping, and you're like, I don't know if that would be like cool enough or entertaining enough for her. I think that says something.
What questions should you then ask yourself?
Well, what makes me feel so nervous about that? Is it her seeing my home? Is it her watching me parent up close? Is it her not seeing me at my high energy, performing extroverted self and I'm a little more mellow? I mean, what are the things that feel risky to you for her to see if you had a more low lift interaction?
I think that's such a hard thing for so many women
It
because we
is.
live in this time of perfection. Like again, social media, right? Everybody's trying to look perfect all the time. So for you to invite your friend over and you're like, excuse, I'm gonna be really real right now. My dog destroyed my couch. Oof. So we refused to buy one until, unfortunately, he passes. He's old. But when I come over, the first thing I'm thinking is, are they looking at the couch? Are they looking at the pile of mail that's sitting on the table?
So I think that
That's so real.
requires like self-reflection that I need to do as well, because my house will never be ready. I just need to say it right now. It will never be. We remodeled it. It's not fully furnished. I got to be real with myself and say, Maggie, in your eyes, it'll never be ready enough to have people over. So knock it off with that excuse. But I also think that it forces us to ask a question about, what does that say about that friendship? If you have to ask yourself all those questions, which brings me perfectly to the next thing I wanted to talk about. How do you recognize that a friendship is healthy, not toxic, not one-sided? Because that's a big one.
Good question.
Yeah, I love that you started with healthy, because there's a big difference between like what we don't prefer, what makes us uncomfortable, what's inconvenient, and what's unhealthy. And it might be hard to differentiate what's toxic, what's just friction. And when we think about healthy, we think about two people who like each other, they know each other, and they are doing things to mutually contribute to the relationship. I feel safe here. I can be myself. Now, when we start to get into, I have to measure my words, I feel like I can't be myself or I'd be rejected, or it's starting to feel one-sided, that she just wants me for what I can offer her, but if I could no longer offer her things, she'd be gone, then I think those are things to kind of call into question. I will say this about the one-sided thing. I'll say that that's probably one of the questions I get asked the most, aside from like how to make new friends, is I'm the one doing the work. I'm always the one initiating. I'm always is the most common thing. And I think it's so interesting. And, you know, I have thoughts there, but I'll just say this. Yeah, to some degree, like reciprocity is the foundation of friendship. This is an elective relationship. We're both giving here. So I think especially for women where we value symmetry and egalitarianism so much, we expect that things are going to be fair and balanced here. So it does not surprise me to hear that so many women are disheartened by a suspicion that this is not fair. I will also say that I was recently talking to a therapist, and she was talking about women who feel that often, like they would look at their friendship history and say, yeah, women always take advantage of me. I'm always the one giving. To really look at yourself.
What's the common denominator?
Because she's saying that you might be trying to earn love. And so no one will ever be able to match.
Exactly.
They cannot
what
live
you
up to your
do.
high expectations.
Yes.
So I thought that was interesting too. But again, that's if that's your capital N narrative of friendship for your history. It might be something to look at. How do you show up? Are you trying to earn? Then it's always going to feel like, oh, well, no one matches my effort. I think that's something
Maybe you're
to get
doing
curious
too
about.
much.
Yeah.
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 That is food for thought. Okay, I want to talk about I wrote some down because there are many reasons I think that people stay in friendships that maybe aren't the healthiest for them. And one of the ones that I can think of in my own life is because we have this history and that person has been there for me through so many things. And I feel like I can't abandon this person, but I don't have that much in common with this person anymore. I don't really get a lot out of our interactions anymore. How do you combat that? Like the loyalty of it.
Yeah, that's really hard because I think that one of the traits that we admire in women is loyalty, nurturing, faithfulness. So it can feel like I am not being a good friend to leave her in this moment. And I always say, I wish I had $1 for how many times women will say to me, I mean, I would, but I'll look like the bad guy. I would do it, but then I'd be the bad guy. There's something about us needing to maintain an appearance of cooperation. And will I look like I'm being cold, unsupportive, disloyal to leave? And this might sound like an oversimplification, but I think one thing we can do to start to get a picture of what we ought to do is to really look at the cost and benefits, because every choice you make comes with cost and benefits. When you look at your choice to stay, what will it cost you and what will be the benefits? If the main reason is I don't want to hurt her feelings, I know this sounds harsh, but I would offer a reframe, because if you're releasing a friendship that exhausts you, you find yourself dreading hangouts, you get like a pit in your stomach when you see her name come up for texts. When you leave the hangout, you feel a little resentful because you could have did something else with that time. You feel like you're not seen, you're there for her. Those costs sound pretty high to me. And so the reframe could be that it could be an act of generosity to release something, because she deserves friends who want to be there. And you don't need to be anywhere that you really don't want to be. And you're here mostly to do a favor. Now, I don't think that needs to be an all or nothing. I could look at like, maybe I need to reduce how often I engage with her, or like how much I tell her.
Compartmentalize
friends.
Yeah,
because that matters. A person who's seen you over 25 years. But I know that it can be hard to have friends that end up feeling like nothing more than obligations.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's tough though, isn't it?
No,
Because sometimes
sure.
I was listening to everything that you said. I'm like, is that selfish of me? Like, you know what I mean? Should I just do it because it's the right thing to do, regardless of cost benefit analysis?
Yeah.
It's
tough.
It's not an easy thing. All right. So another thing that we have to do is, when you say it doesn't have to be like the perfect hangout, but a lot of people will be planning hangouts, and especially now that summer's here, a lot more people get together. The weather here in Florida is fantastic. So we will be invited to a lot more hangouts, I feel like, and we will maybe be hosting a lot more hangouts. So even though we're going to go back to it doesn't have to be perfect, when you are bringing people together, there are some things that I know you say we should keep in mind. So I would like to talk about that when we come back after the break. Danielle Bayard Jackson's advice on making the most of your hangouts. We have stressed over and over again how it could just be, what did you say, going to Costco with your girlfriend while you tell me about your date last night? And that's amazing. But if you're having people over, or if you're going over to a hangout, the point of it, the hope, I'm sure, for anybody who's hosting, or if you're the host, is that the people who attend the hangout will feel connected, will have a good time, will leave better for it. So how do we go about ensuring that that happens?
Okay, yes. So there's this book I love. It's called The Art of Gathering. I talk about it all the time, and it has changed my brain about how I think about gathering. But the author's main argument is that we gather so much in meetings or baby showers, whatever, and don't put any thought into it. And I don't mean the invitations or the aesthetics, but we're just like, well, we're just meeting because that's what we're supposed to do. And she gives like 6 things that you should be asking yourself. But one of them is, what is the objective? That sounds so simple, but if you articulate what is the point, it informs everything else. Who you should and should not invite, how long it should be, how much you should spend. What is the point?
Example of the point, of some points.
Yeah, what is the point? Is it because I want to get content for Instagram? I mean, if we're being honest, it would be cute to get some content.
Yep.
What is it? I really want people to feel connected. That ought to alter what the agenda looks like and what we're doing. So for people who are trying to meet this summer and gather their friends for a low-key hangout, if your objective is to make people feel connected, there are just some things that new research is saying helps that to be something you can achieve.
Okay. So consider the objective.
Yes.
That makes so much sense. And
Yeah, it does.
you'll set the guest list accordingly. Let's assume that your objective is to really connect and make sure
Yes.
that your guests connect with each other. What's the number one thing to keep in mind there?
Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is that it should be active. The research finds that when people attend events and they feel like it was an active event, they felt more connected. So if you're trying to help them form relationships and feel seen, ask yourself, okay, have I planned this to be passive? So one exercise I like to do, both for social gatherings and when I was a teacher, I would do the same thing. It sounds corny, but it works. Is I would go into my classroom and just like physically step in, sit in one of the kids' desks and imagine the lesson from their perspective. If they are able to sit and be quiet the whole time, my lesson is not good enough. It is passive. They don't have to do anything but listen.
So wait a minute. That goes against what a lot of teachers, I think, would think. They just want the kids to sit there, listen, and be quiet because maybe they assume that they're really getting something
There's an
out of
element
it.
of boredom there too.
Sure.
So what does a successful one look like in your view?
Yeah. And so again, is my objective to have them be quiet and I have no friction? Because then I need to be real with myself. Because if I want them to learn, best practices do say that they're involved in some way. So for your gathering, it doesn't have to be a whole thing, but are they playing a role or do they really need to just sit, eat dinner, and then they could leave? So this could look like, they are sending submissions beforehand for like a cute little thing they want you to include. Or we've seen the trends on TikTok where everybody brings their version of a charcuterie board or something, and it's fun, but they got to play a role in how this experience is going to go. If your goal is for them to feel connected, that's something to consider, is the active part. Another part is their interactions with one another. So I think we often put so much effort into the aesthetics and the cuisine, which we should. But have you created an environment where they are encouraged and able to talk to one another? The research is finding that people feel connected when they had a chance to interact with other people.
So I went to a gathering where they had a sit where we wouldn't. So they had assigned seating, basically. It was a gathering of women. They had assigned seating. And not only that, they paired you, like, behind your name was the name of another mom that you had to find and you had to have a conversation with. And I was so scared. I wanted to leave on the spot. I did not want to partake. And I was terrified. And I'm like, is this a good idea? This forced interaction? And the answer for me by the end of the night was absolutely. She was lovely. Never would have talked to that woman had I not been forced to.
I love that you had that experience.
So I guess that's what you're saying.
Yes.
But a host might say, well, wait, I don't want the person to feel forced.
And I feel that way too at the very beginning when it's like, talk to your neighbor. Or when the pastor's like, tell your neighbor. I'm like, oh God, no, don't talk to your neighbor. So those things matter. And then like in addition to that, the last thing is, if it makes sense for you, a recurring event. So again, if it's relationship building or people feeling seen, if they're coming back again and again, if it makes sense. So if you're having a quarterly barbecue or a monthly book club, those are going to best lend themselves to people feeling seen and connected because I know I'm seeing you again. So those are things to keep in mind if your objective for summer gatherings is people feeling connected.
I think that's a great objective to have, and that's a great way to get there. All right, lastly, we only have a few minutes left. I just want to go back to your... you said the question you get asked the most is not only about one-sided friendships, but about how to make friends. So for the mom who says, honestly, all of this sounds amazing, but I don't really have friends to invite to this gathering.
She's 47. This is
She is tired. She's tired.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
I don't really have friends. I'd love to have a gathering where guests could be connected, but I don't have that many friends. What do you tell women you work with who say, what's the best way to make friends as an adult woman?
Okay, this is my 60-second rapid fire.
Go for it.
Okay, the first
You have 90 seconds if you want to take them.
Oh, great. So I was born in... okay, so the first thing is prioritize connection over friendship because a lot of women will stay in their bubble and they think a friendship's just going to happen. It starts with looking for all these moments of connection all day long, grocery store, at the park. So that mindset, a natural byproduct of that is that friendships form. The second thing is to ask a super connector. So these are the people who seem to know everybody. It could be your neighbor or a girl at work, the woman who knows everybody. There is zero shame in saying to her, I'm trying to get plugged in and I thought of you because I feel like you are always on the scene and you know everywhere to go. Do you know of any events around here that are worth checking out? We are not going to get the need met if we're too afraid to make the need known. That does not make you cringy. You ask a super connector, they are delighted to give their 2 cents. And best case scenario, you get invited as a +1. Oh, I'm in a book club. You should come. But how do they know, right? And then the last thing I would say is don't be afraid of these apps. I know it sounds odd, but there are many friendship apps and little organizations I see popping up for friend making. It is worth it. It does not make you desperate. It makes you resourceful.
Well, I think about like St. Pete Girls Who Walk or Tampa Girls Who like that kind of stuff.
Like groups
apps
like that.
and orgs, and there's so many. You just got to commit to going.
Danielle, Thank you. Thank you for all of this
Thank you.
advice and for
Yeah.
being such a cheerleader of women and a connector of women. And I'm so proud of you
Oh,
for
thank you,
all your
Maggie.
stinking success.
I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Maggie and the Moms. We will see you next time.